we had a good conversation with a Hall of Famer that is one of Ian's mentors, and he said you want the guys in that first round to be the cover of your album. You know, you want those to be the one where everyone can look to that player and be like, all right, what he's made of is what we all need to be a part of.
Williams has time against the four-man rush. Backpedaling, scanning, now running out of time. Circling back. Joystick on the move again. Are you kidding me? Caleb Williams dancing, cutting, mesmerizing run by the quarterback. Penix going deep. Odunze turned around. Found the ball. Touchdown. Amazing. Well, how do you stop that?
If you told me we would end up with both Caleb and Rome weeks ago, I would have said you were crazy.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Odunze. I am hosting this special from my office up in beautiful Arlington Heights. Probably not the future home of the Chicago Bears. But this is our 10th year of the Barroom Network programming. And so one of the things that I've been trying to find some time to do is to archive things and to compact them and share them with you, our audience. And I thought maybe one of the first places I would start is with our 2024 NFL draft coverage. We had about 17 hours of live coverage of every pick. And we're all, the majority of us, the vast majority, except Jordan, of course, are Bears fans. And so what I wanted to do was cut together the highlights of when the Bears picked and a couple of other moments that I will introduce before I roll them. So I am going to chop this up in rounds. So the first clip that you will see is the reaction after the Caleb pick, no surprise there, and then on, and then also include a couple of other extras. So without further ado, let's go back to draft day, round one, and the selection of Caleb Williams.
Oh my goodness, they select Caleb Williams. Wow.
Good thing I'm sitting down, guys. Good thing I'm sitting down.
While it's not a shocker, it is historic. The Bears pick number one overall. I believe the first time they've picked a quarterback with the number one overall pick, if my historians are, keeping me up to date here. So the Bears, they take Caleb Williams, a historic pick for them. Wasn't their original pick. They get it from Carolina, but they go and they get their franchise quarterback in Caleb Williams. So how does this feel? I mean, as a Bears fan, it's easy to be cynical, or it's easy to look at what can go wrong, or pick out some, bad scenarios here. But you got to feel excited if you're a Bears fan, correct?
Well, John, I was excited in 2021 when they took Justin Fields, and I told all our listeners, I said, the Bears have their franchise quarterback, and what the Bears did after that to Justin was, in my opinion, total organizational malpractice for the kid. So again, we've been talking about this prior to here. We're like, you bring in this talented quarterback, talented athlete. Let's build around him. Let's play to his strengths. Let's not fiddle around here and just say, all right, we got him and we're done. So what they do from here on out is what we're going to, monitor and judge the Bears by. So far they've been off to a good start in terms of getting some weapons for him. But now let's see them go ahead and build, like we talked about, that infrastructure around him in terms of offensively, and let him be the face of your franchise. And don't fail this kid like you failed Justin Fields and some of the other guys, right? So that's my thing. Is now it's on the Bears, it's on Ryan Poles, it's on the coaching staff to go ahead and, you have a talented quarterback, go ahead and make it happen for this kid.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My eyes are glued to the TV as Caleb Williams dancing around with his Bears jersey just brings, warms my heart to see Caleb Williams so excited holding a Bears jersey. Jordan, how do you feel right now? I mean, we knew this was coming. This is not something that they got. I mean, back when they drafted Fields, they moved up and got him, so it was a little bit of a surprise at the time. But we knew this was coming. But it still is official. He's holding a Bears jersey. It has his last name on it. It is official that Caleb Williams is a Chicago Bear. How do you feel?
It is time for the city of Chicago to party, John. This is something that I don't think that people realize, that back when the Bears had the number 1 pick last year, there were talks that had Caleb Williams been in the 2023 NFL draft, you would not have seen the Bears move back. There would have been a discussion to take Caleb Williams there and cut the Justin Fields experiment a year early. To then be able to secure that future today, to lock it in and stamp it in, that's your quarterback of the future. I've comped him to Dak Prescott gone wild, and I mean that in the best possible way. I mean, this is a stellar prospect. Again, as I've said, he's not necessarily my top quarterback, but that doesn't mean I don't like the kid. That doesn't mean that I don't think that he has impressive skills, traits, and attributes. And I do believe that his roof, his ceiling, is sky high. The city of Chicago should feel so emboldened and impassioned and emblazoned by the selection of this kid and being able to say, that's the quarterback of the future under this Ryan Poles regime. He finally got his guy.
Now, Danny, them taking Caleb Williams number 1 overall, all of the hype around Caleb Williams, all of the news stories around him, the narratives, whatever you want to say, now puts a heck of a lot of pressure on this kid to perform almost out of the gate.
Right.
What are some reasonable expectations? Because people are saying, well, the Bears have never had a 4,000-yard passer. They never had a quarterback throw for 30 touchdowns. They're going to get one They're going to get one next year.
Let's pump the brakes on those guys. Let's pump the brakes on those. Does Caleb Williams have the talent to eventually be that first ever quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards and throw for 30 touchdowns? He's got the talent, right? And like I said, he's going to be probably the most talented natural thrower of the football the Bears have had a quarterback in their franchise history. But let's go ahead and remember, this is going to be an organizational development tool here. This is going to be a rookie. He's going to come in. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to have those Notre Dame type of games, right? Where he's got 3 interceptions and 1 touchdown, and everyone's going to call into our post-game show, John. You and I, we're feeling those calls, and they're going to be like, oh, this guy's a bust. And all of a sudden, there's already things on Twitter, if you're going right now, people calling him a bust. So let's pump the brakes on that. Let's just let this kid come in and get comfortable. He's got the immense talent, right? He's got the swagger of an Aaron Rodgers. That's the guy who he's kind of modeled his game after. That's who's been his role model. So he's a guy that's going to come in there and think he can make every single throw and be that alpha dog from day one. So let's let him grow into that role. Let's protect him from himself at times, right? Jordan and I talked about the fumbles. That's something in his game right now that does concern me. He's going to have to go ahead and clean that up. Obviously, in the NFL, the ball is very, very it's a big priority. You turn the ball over, that's not a good thing, right? So let's work on that. Let's build a running game around him. Let's fortify the offensive line. That last game against Green Bay, that offensive line looked putrid. And that's the last memory I have of that season offensive line. So, fixing that offensive line, making sure all the leaky holes in there are fixed are going to be a priority here. They've already invested some veterans in there, nothing big, no big names or anything like that, but they've invested some veterans. Hopefully they can solidify that, build that rushing attack behind him, and now add some more weapons around him in terms of receiver. Remember, they've got Keenan Allen, they've got DJ Moore. They signed Colin Johnson back, who's a former University of Texas receiver, but he hasn't really done much in the NFL. They have Tyler Scott, last year's 5th-round pick. But they got to add, in my opinion, they got to add 2 more receivers here, whether it's a rookie and another veteran, or if it's 2 rookies from this draft class. You got to add some more talent at the outside skill positions, in my opinion, for Caleb Williams. And again, let's bring him in slowly. Let's go ahead and kind of let him get his feet wet, and then now once he's gotten comfortable, now you can show off some of the immense talent he has.
This kid I've called him a QB virtuoso. I wouldn't now. Again, it's not even my top quarterback in this class, but when you consider what Caleb Williams brings to the table, this is truly a transcendent talent to the likes of. I mean, is there even a question? Jay Cutler is an incredibly talented player. This guy, Caleb Williams, throws just as far. He's just as creative and often ways that are better than Jay Cutler. So to me, I think that this really represents a new chapter in the Chicago Bears history.
I am muted. I am muted. I was saying that Jordan was absolutely right. This is a new chapter in Chicago Bears history. I don't agree with his list of top quarterbacks, but nonetheless, only time will tell us if he is right or not. I am back here live, and we got a comment from Gypsy Mike saying that Caleb Williams is a slower, smaller fields mini me. He'll be booed off the field after a string of home losses. That's obviously Mike's prediction on the matter. My reply to him in the chat was, the tape that I've studied on Caleb is that Caleb is a guy that throws better on time. He will get that NFL timing, going back 3 steps, going back 5 steps, planting that back foot, and then firing. He'll get that a lot faster than Justin. That was one of Justin's biggest problems. The fumbling problem that Fields has, Caleb has the same thing, and he tends to have that ball way out when he's running, and could be disastrous. So he needs to correct that problem. There's no doubt. The other thing that Caleb is, in my opinion, going to be better at than Fields is spotting the open receiver downfield. There were just times where Fields, because of the offensive line wasn't providing protection, he just did not find the open receiver. And from the clips that we've seen of Caleb, he just keeps his eyes downfield and makes these tremendous plays. He's been blamed a lot for being a Superman and holding the ball on too long and finding the big play. And that usually is a result of the team trailing because the quarterback now wants to make up for a deficit and so forth. Mr. Shorty, how are you? He writes, I was wondering what the hell is going on. Yeah, we're just doing a replay of our draft coverage with an emphasis of when the Bears picked. Shorty also writes, DJ Moore already said Caleb throws with anticipation, throws him open. And he also said, Mr. Shorty, he added to that, better than the last time, or words to that effect, obviously alluding to Justin Fields. So, I don't think let's remember, Justin Fields was picked, 10th, 11th, and Caleb is the overwhelmingly number one quarterback in this draft, and a draft that's loaded with excellent talent. So I think everyone should expect better results than what we have with Justin Fields. So with that, I want to move on now to the 9th pick of the first round. This was the reaction, and this was the analysis immediately as it happened on Thursday night, right?
I don't want to get ahead of myself here, Danny, but what are we going to see happen here?
You stick and pick, John, you go Roman Odunze. If you're not going to stick and pick and you want to recoup some draft capital and you want to trade back and think you can get a receiver in the second round, fine. I'm okay with that. But do not pick anything. Don't stick here and pick anything other than Roman Odunze because he's my highest rated player right now on my board, number 2 overall on my top 100. If you're going to stick here, you got to take Roman Odunze, in my opinion.
Jordan, is that the pick? I mean, I'm not saying like it has to be.
John, it has to be. I'm kidding. I would never log off and stop this great time with you fellas. But if he's not the pick, I'm going to be upset.
Odunze is a Chicago Bears.
Oh my God! Look, fellas, I've not made this a secret. Like if JJ McCarthy goes to the Vikings, I'm rooting for the Vikings more than the Bears, and I know that's sacrilege here. But the reality is that the Bears have built a monster. Ryan Poles, kudos to you, sir. The fact that you're going to get Rome Odunze to be the successor to Keenan Allen when he finally turns out, and Rome Odunze doesn't need to be relied on as your star player. He can play your power slot if you need. You can move DJ Moore inside. This is masterful level operations here. Like this is incredible.
The Bears went, and this is something that kind of bothers me a little bit because the Bears went from giving Justin Fields nothing, right? Nothing. Dante Pettis and Byron Pringle. To now, his quarterback has got Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet, Joe Everett. So but the Bears might have the best receiving core in the division now. That's how much I love Rome Odunze.
Danny, we talked about, if you want to talk about what they've traded, so essentially this draft class has been what? Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, and then Keenan Allen and Montez Sweat. That's been their draft class so far.
Yes.
So
good point.
So how much better?
And Ryan Bates is also part of that because they traded a 5th round pick for Ryan Bates. That could be the starting center. So this has been Montez Sweat, Rome Odunze, and Caleb Williams with this draft. I mean, if this all pans out, if these players all hit their potential, like we talked about it right coming into this offseason, right? This is a organizational moment. This is a moment where you build pillars to a potential championship caliber team, and just the football character of Rome Odunze, bringing him in here, and just the work ethic. And again, he's a guy that teams kind of fell off because of the fact that, he didn't create as much separation as Neighbors and some of the other guys, but his ability to go up and make contested catches. He's got the strongest hands in the draft, in my opinion. He's a guy that has a good runner. He can look over the shoulder, either shoulder, be able to look the ball in. Okay, great runner. This guy runs, and he's at 6'2", 200 pounds. He could run a whip route and sink his hips and separate from the defensive backs within that 5-yard range. This is a guy that's going to be a quarterback's best friend. Already, Caleb and him have a relationship coming to the draft. This is a home run pick for me, in my opinion, for Ryan Poles and the Bears. But you have two of my top 3 guys and the top 100 guys, and this is a hell of a pick. And I said, if you stick, you got to take Rome Odunze.
Jordan, what are the comps to Rome Odunze? I've heard Terrell Owens. I've heard some. What do you have?
You're asking the right guy here, John. I know people aren't going to love this, but I encourage you, please go back and watch the film and tell me that he's a bad player. Miles Austin is the guy that I compared Rome Odunze to. Miles Austin was that's fine, Danny. That's fine. Because you can talk about Devontae Adams. I like to give my guys a chance to get there. Devontae Adams is a freak of freaks, and Rome Odunze is incredible, but I don't think people understand what Miles Austin was for the Dallas Cowboys at his peak. I mean, look no further than the Kansas City Chiefs game back when he put up record numbers. So, I mean, to me, Miles Austin is the guy. This is my number 5 player in the draft, and you're getting him at 9. I mean, it's incredible. So, to me, this is I know people want to go Devontae Adams. They want to go X, Y, or Z. And look, Danny, I appreciate it. I respect your opinion, but you're talking about the greatest wide receiver in the NFL for a few years, and arguably still top 3, top 5. That's really high praise to be heaping on Rome Odunze.
I'm talking about his game, Jordan. I'm not saying he's going to become a top 5 or top 3 receiver. And I'm talking about his game reminds me of Devontae Adams in terms of body control, in terms of being able to look over either shoulder and look the ball in and make contested catches with guys draped over him. He was higher rated for me than Malik Neighbors, who everyone in the NFL seemed to fall in love with. So because Neighbors created separation because of that 4.35 speed. The biggest knock on Rome Odunze was his speed. What was he going to run at? He ran a 4.45 at the combine. So maybe he doesn't play at a 4.45, but he plays at a 4.5, low 4.5s for sure. And again, just the contested catch ability this guy does. You see him in the red zone, be able to go up. He's got a 39-inch vertical at 6'2", 200 pounds. And talk about back shoulder throws. That's what Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams were known for in terms of at Green Bay. Just the back shoulder throws, the body control to be able to contour, extend away from your frame. Rome Odunze gives you all of that, and that's why I comped him to Devontae Adams. I'm not saying he's going to be better than Devontae Adams, but that's the guy I'm watching him. That's what. And Matt Waldman, we had him on last night on Draft on Tap. His first name he came out with, I didn't say anything to him. His first comp was Devontae Adams as well. So his game reminds you of Devontae Adams, and that's why I comped him to him. Even a poor man's Allen Robinson, if that's what he is, I mean, that gives you some of that kind of ability as well. So, he's a guy that's got not first speed and first ability to not create that much separation. Dude, but when you're 6'2", 200 pounds, had the strongest hands in the draft at receiver, and can jump the 39-inch vertical and around 4.45 40, I'm sorry. This is a guy that for back-to-back years had produced, 1,145 yards last year, averaged 15.3 yards a catch. This year had 1,640 yards, I think almost 18 yards a catch, had 20 touchdowns the last 2 years. So this is a guy that's been balling and making plays a lot, at Washington there. So I'm telling you, this is a guy, and I think Jordan, you mentioned earlier, with Keenan Allen coming in as a free agent, going to be 32 years old. If he leaves, hopefully he has a great year and you get a comp pick for him, maybe a 3rd-round pick or whatnot. But then, but Rome Odunze going to slip right in. I think he is a perfect complement to a DJ Moore.
And I want to follow up real quick with you, Danny, because you look at the body types of the 3 receivers they now have, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Rome Odunze. How does he compare and contrast to those body types, and what can he do that maybe the other guys won't be able to do?
Right. So I see DJ Moore as a Z. I see Rome Odunze as your X, and I see Keenan Allen can play either slot or he can play either position as well. So I would line them up that way. I would line up, with Keenan in the slot or Rome on the outside and DJ Moore on the outside as well. And we talk about Tyler Scott in there as well, giving you some of that deep speed element. So if you go 4 wide receivers now, you got guys that can threat every level of the football field. You got DJ Moore running the intermediate routes. You got Keenan Allen running the shorter crossers in the middle of the field. And you got Rome Odunze who can make plays down the football field. Again, he's a guy that doesn't necessarily going to blow by guys like say, for example, like Xavier Worthy or even Malik Neighbors, but he's a guy, even if he's covered, he's open. That's the type of receiver he is, because even if a corner is in phase, Rome's got the body control, the ability to extend away from his frame, the strong hands to go up and make those plays on the football field where, as soon as Caleb and him get in rhythm, I can see big time plays down the football field between him and Rome Odunze.
We are back live, and I'm not on mute, so that's good. People in the chat are saying they agree with the comp, or even came up with the comp of Davante Adams before Danny mentioned it there, and I'm hearing that a lot. And so I went back and looked at Davante Adams' stats when he joined the Packers. His first season, he had 38 receptions, 446 yards, 3 touchdowns. I remember this clearly because back then, we were still doing the NFC North Barroom. And so I was involved with the Packers Barroom, the Lions Barroom, Vikings Barroom. So I did thorough research on all of these players. And Davante Adams, at first, people were questioning the pick and worried, why didn't we take one in the first round? Why did we wait to the second round to pick Davante? And then he follows that 38 reception season in 2015. He had 50 receptions. I think Jordy Nelson was still on the team and still Rodgers' number one receiver. And we've learned from watching Rodgers over the years is that he tends to really focus in on one receiver, which is why Adams got 115 receptions, 123 receptions, 111 receptions during his prime years with the Packers. So Rome Odunze comes into a perfect situation. And if he gets only 38 receptions in his rookie year, let's not call him a bust, because if he really is Davante Adams, it's going to take him a little while to establish chemistry. One of the big challenges Caleb is going to have is, how do you disperse the ball to all of these weapons that you have? You have in Keenan Allen a third down genius. This guy caught over 100 passes last year because he was Justin Herbert's third down weapon. And he worked over the middle. He worked short routes and so forth. DJ Moore, we saw last year what he could do. He's more that intermediate route guy, and Rome Odunze is more the deeper guy. But and then you got the 2 tight ends, and then you've got a pass catching running back. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how Caleb adjusts to these weapons that he has. And hopefully, of course, you'll have the time to pick. Just haven't thrown to him yet. I mean, fire the ball over there. Mr. Shorty says, if he only has 38 receptions, it will be because DJ, Keenan, and Kmet. Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with that, because if he was drafted by a team that needed a number one wide receiver, I would bet he'd have over 50. But maybe in a future show we can have a bet thing, a little contest on over under receptions for Rome Odunze. Maybe the number should be 50. So. All right, let's move on now to the third round pick. And this is when things start to get a little tense over at the Barroom's coverage. Danny wasn't super thrilled with the pick, and we'll hear Jordan's reaction. I was off camera for this, but I joined the guys later for some of my thoughts. Here we go. We go now to pick number 3. Let me see if I can get the name right. Karan Amag. I'm gonna get this whatever.
They're on the clock, I believe, right?
Christian Haynes was my second guard in this class, and I love Christian Haynes. Like I love Christian Haynes, but I also don't think that you need depth, and I value depth, but I also think that I value a trade back and getting a few more swings at the apple cart here.
Let's ask the people in the chat. What do you guys think in the chat? What do you guys want the Bears to trade back, sit tight? Who do you guys want the Bears to pick here at pick 75?
I love Brendan Jackson. Love him. Not here. He's a coach's favorite type of player. Love the effort. He's got a ball magnet, but he's got an injury history. Mo Kamara is a smaller player. I'm not sure that he'd fit what the Bears want, but he's a unique player, has some skills. Javon Solomon, another shorter player. I would love a guy like Xavier Thomas out of Clemson or Cedric Johnson, but not here. This is the problem. So to me, if you're looking for edge, I don't know what you're fishing for here.
But Xavier, I mean, the kid from Clemson, he never produces. He's got the athletic ability, and he's more of a 3-4 outside linebacker. I mean, than anything else. I mean, it's not like that's going to pass rusher. That's different, right?
Yeah, I mean, some interesting players here, but again, I don't think the Bears have not shown a desire to go small at defensive tackle. So Mekhi Wingo, McKinley, that's what I'm saying. It's challenging.
For me right now, it's Dwayne Carter or Adisa Isaac. That's the guys I want right now. One of those two players.
Okay, well, that makes sense. I like this pick for the Chicago Bears. As I was telling Danny, I don't feel comfortable putting Caleb Williams out there where if one of your tackles goes down, and presumably Braxton Jones or Darnell Wright, you're rolling out Matt Pryor and Pat Curran there. So Kieran is exactly a Ryan Poles type of pick and an Ian Cunningham type of pick. He's got immense upside with his physical tools, but he comes from small school playing, had an injury this year. I didn't personally get enough tape study on him, but the small tape I did see, he did look like he was ass kicking and being a bully out there against smaller competition. But this is a perfect guy where I don't want him playing at all this year unless it's an emergency, and he is very much a breaking case of emergency plan if things go awry with Braxton Jones, where you decide to let Braxton Jones go. And Kieran is developed by that point where you can kind of bring him in as your left tackle. But this is at 75. If you're not going to trade back, this is a hell of a pick. You're not going to get a left tackle like this anywhere else in the draft. I promise you.
He's a local kid, first of all. He's from Hinsdale, Illinois. So, in terms of size, measurable, 6'5", 323, 36 and an eighth arm length, and 9 5/8 in terms of his hand size. It didn't test at the combine or didn't test at his pro day because he had that quad injury. But he's a guy that size and his movement ability is something that impresses you, right? He's got left tackle ability, in my opinion, but there's a lot of times counters hurt him, right? There's a lot of times where speed hurt him on the outside. So a developmental type of tackle, you brought up earlier, I just didn't think they could afford to take a developmental type tackle with the needs they had on defensive line, the defensive front. I never knock picks that attack the trenches, right? I'm an offensive line, defensive line guy. So while it's not on the line that I wanted, the defensive line, it is an offensive lineman. And you said, he's a guy that a lot of teams had earmarked in this third round range. So, and because of that, because of the abilities he's got in terms of his size and he shows some athletic ability. So this is a boomer bust pick for me, guys. This is like a guy that could be, like you said, a starting left tackle caliber for you, or it could just be a bust, and you could just waste another third round pick like you did on Billy Jones. So it's hard for me to be really excited about this pick, especially because I don't see he's going to be on the field next year starting. In my opinion, he's not going to be on the field next year starting. If he is, something went really bad with Braxton Jones or one of the other offensive linemen. So,
see, but I got to say, Danny, and like I said, I'm coming here trying to be non-biased. I'm getting more excited as each second ticks on about this pick. Just because I'm seeing this is how I want my GMs to build my teams, which is that. That's what I'm saying.
I know you're it because I love offensive defensive linemen. Investing in your offensive defensive line, you need to do that. He's a boomer bust kind of pick for me.
Yeah, but let me give you an example. This is what I mean, because to me, sure, you could absolutely spend it on Valus or a wide receiver. I like the positional value in taking it. If you're going to take a swing on somebody in the third round, take it on a potential left tackle in a class where there's not a lot of left tackles after this. Then on top of that, and this is where it's just a personal preference, I was not a fan of Ryan Poles in his first year trading back for 7 sixth-round picks and taking dart throws on offensive linemen in the 6th round. Any good offensive lineman worth their salt is no longer available in the 6th round. I'm sorry. You're very seldom going to get a quality guy there. They're going to be available in the 2nd, 3rd, maybe 4th, occasional 5th. So for you to take a chance, a boomer bust, and you want to swing on the big physical freak out of Yale that may be developmental, but he's going to be a potential left tackle option. This is, like I said, I'm not trying to call it an A+ just because he's going to work out. But to me, I'm really struggling to hate this pick for what he possibly represents, because the left tackles aren't walking down the street. And to your point, we agree edge is an issue, but I can't find a good left tackle or even a possible. You know what I get at left tackle? I get Matt Pryor out on the market. What do I get at the end? I can go pick up Carl Lawson tomorrow. This is the thing. I can go pick up Yannick Ngakoue if I wanted to again. There are not these options at left tackle. So to me, this is just, like I said, I'm not trying to just pump it up for Bears fans. Somebody asked me to grade the pick. I'd probably give it like a B plus, all things considered. Like it's hard for me to argue with the merits of this pick.
To me, the screaming need at defensive line is just glaring, and I want it addressed. And they may have a plan post draft. That's fine. We don't know, but I'm just saying that's something I want to see addressed.
But who on that defensive line would you have preferred over Karan?
Well, again, going off of my board, right, which is totally different from their board. My board is Adisa Isaac from Penn State is a guy I like a lot. But again, he's a situational pass rusher. He's not a complete defensive end. Yeah, there's Dwayne Carter, the defensive tackle from Duke, and I can see why they invested the defensive tackle last year with the 2 picks, young guys. So maybe they're not as needed in terms of, in their opinion, inside. And then the other guy is Austin Booker. Again, he's a 1-year wonder, but from what I've seen on his tape and from what I've seen at the Senior Bowl, he's a guy that really intrigued me in terms of potential guy to come in here. Again, we're talking about a guy that could be a boomer bust, right? Just like this kid Karan. Now, obviously, they went with what they do, right? Where they go with length, they go with size, and they go with athletic ability. And Karan has all of that. He has all of that, no doubt. There's a bump up in competition. All I'm saying is this is a boomer bust pick on.
We know you said it 50 times already.
But I'm not hating.
Let me add some thoughts. Okay, this is Olin Kreutz talking about the need for an offensive line. He was upset that Odunze was picked at 8. He writes, he said, and the Tribune reported, how do you not take the left tackle? I still can't figure that out. I like Odunze. He's awesome, but I don't know how you don't take the left tackle with the problems they've had. Look at Jim Harbaugh. He went and he took Alt. You got a former quarterback who wants to win in the trenches, and you've got 2 former offensive linemen, Poles and assistant general manager Ian Cunningham, who want to win with skilled players. It's interesting, and I have to agree with him. You got to take some swings and misses at this offensive line, particularly when you have a new quarterback in, and you don't want to rely on a journeyman offensive lineman who has no potential, whereas now with this guy, you have potential. That's why this pick may not make perfect sense, but it makes a lot of sense.
But to be fair, Olin's talking about the 9th pick. He's not talking about this pick here. He's talking about 9th, where he had better, higher caliber tackles, which I was on board about. I said, if you're not going to take Odunze, you do take offensive tackles there. That's what he's talking about. He's not talking about it here. And again, just to clarify, I'm not hating. I love when you invest in the trenches. Mm-hmm. I'm never gonna hate a pick on that. I'm just telling you, my thing right now is there's a big need in defensive line, and they may have a plan for that. Great. I just wasn't seeing this kid right now coming up here.
I love Danny, but I started to get a little annoyed. You'll see him and I get into a bigger debate in the next one of the upcoming clips. But my point is that we all know that the offensive line needs depth, and so you got to take some swings at that. And Danny's going to go on later and say that he doesn't have 100% trust in Ryan Poles, and that's fine. But Poles at least has 100% trust on his board. He wasn't going to reach for a defensive end that he had ranked below Karan. So for that, I applaud him. It's the stay true to the board, stay true to your convictions. You spent hours and hours and hours scouting these guys, and you put them in order. Stay true to it. And there's always an opportunity, as will be proven later, is that you can move back in, trade one of the draft assets for next season. Those guys that Danny mentioned, the Adisa Isaacs and Austin Booker, those guys lasted to the 5th round. So, my message is you can't rebuild a team overnight. If you're going to do it the way Ryan Poles has elected to do it, it's going to take time and patience. So that's, you're going to hear me repeat basically what I just said now a little later. So I apologize for that. Couple of Notorious says Austin Booker fills our developmental defensive end. Yes, absolutely. Bellissimo had a concern regarding the selection of Amagadejo. I think I screwed that up again. Gabe Hall went undrafted to the Eagles. He could be a huge sleeper. Totally agree. Really love his tape. And George goes on to say Amedejo is better in pass pro than Braxton is right now. Look at that. So I know I have a lot of respect for the tape study that Berlissimo does, and he goes on to say Austin Booker has stuff. He was just limited on scheme. All right, so let's get to the point of our draft coverage, and this is on Friday night, where the Bears make that controversial pick. So you got look at the expressions of Jordan, Aaron Current, and myself on this.
I mean, really, they're bolstering up that track team right down there in South Beach.
This is unbelievable. The Chicago Bears, according to NFL Draft Diamonds, have selected punter Tory Taylor.
No way. You called it, Aldo.
I didn't know. A bunch of people in the chat were clamoring for it.
Is this for real?
This is for real. Danny Shimon just texted me and says, I have nothing to say on the punter.
Hey, like we said earlier, it was Iowa's, and if Toots joins in later, it was Iowa's best offensive weapon last year. So you lock him up.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Jordan. Express your frustration.
You seem upset, Jordan. What's wrong?
It's fine. It's just like I get it. And let me be clear, he was one of the best punters that you could have had. The punter from the Shrine Bowl, I had not as high, but real close. But this is my whole point: did you really needed to burn your fourth rounder on a punter? Pick. I know he's a good punter. I understand he's a good punter.
Yeah,
I understand he's a good punter. I'm with it, but and I don't know. Maybe the Bears are just going to expect that rookie quarterback. We're going to have some struggles. We may not score as many points. We want field position.
Man,
look at him.
Hold the fuck up, man. Look, I ain't even left yet, bro. Y'all got like Snoop. Who? They took a wing. Man, come on, bro. Come on, bro. They ain't take no damn punter for real, did they?
They did. Tory Taylor from us.
What? It's a fucking spider. We got goddamn spiders. Fucking goddamn punters being picked. What's happening? What's happening?
Hey.
Oh my God.
I'm watching his highlights right now. The guy pins him deep. He does his job.
I'm not denying that, AC. Let's be clear. He's the good punter. You didn't pick a bad punter. It's just that it's a little bit of an oxymoron. You put all this offensive talent. We're drafted tackles, wide receivers, and quarterbacks, so that at the end of the day, we don't have to punt. We want to be successful. And I understand. It's a plan to make sure that we pin teams back if we have to, if we're not able to score. I understand. It's not a bad pick. It just feels rich when this is my whole point, Aldo, is that I said this yesterday, and I'm not a GM, so Ryan Poles absolutely rules over me. I get the sense that Ryan Poles is operating like the Bears are a lot closer than what they actually are, and I just don't agree with that. I don't think that you have the room to take luxury picks like punters in the fourth round when you have other holes.
For your
unless he buddy that was drafted by the Raiders in the second round, bro. What are you doing? Who's right to the opposite side of Sweat? Oh my God.
There's nobody happier than Richard Hightower, the special teams coordinator. I'm sure he was pushing for this.
Well, yeah, he probably got tired of sending his punter out there to pin them deep, and they end up getting the ball at the damn 30 or 35-yard line.
The Bears war room, everybody's clapping it up. They're smiling. They're happy.
Standing ovations.
Oh, Cade Stover goes the very next pick to the Texans.
Oh, my God.
That's a C.J. Stroud pick right there. He said, hey, go get my tight end, bro. Yep. Go to Ohio State and get my tight end.
That's not a bad – I mean, let me be very clear. I'm removing my feelings from it. It's not a bad pick. I get it. I just don't personally
Cloudy Future said, who's getting a Tory Taylor jersey?
I don't personally agree with the process to take a punter in the fourth when you have a clear edge need and you're neglecting that edge need. You have clear safety depth issues and you're neglecting those safety depth issues. You have, concerns about your interior offensive line with two guards that weren't necessarily solid last year. Like, this is, again, like I said, Ryan Poles knows infinitely more than I'll ever know in one pinky in my hand about football, but I don't personally agree with the process.
This guy's the Ray Guy winner. This guy has set a record in terms of the amount of punts. Now, again, the joke is he was the best player on offense for Iowa last season because of the amount of punts he had. And I think he had 32 inside the 20 and 20 plus touchbacks. So was it a surprise? Yeah, I mean, it was a surprise. But this guy could be a weapon. He's a guy who can drop ball in there, and if you can pin the opposing offenses within the 20-yard line, that could be a weapon for your defense. Definitely.
They obviously the most controversial pick outside of the Penix pick in this draft. The Penix pick, I think, is going to go down, at least in history, as either a terrible pick for the Atlanta Falcons or a masterful pick if he ends up stealing that starting job right away and going on to a great NFL career. But as for Taylor, yeah, it's always going to be a shocker when you have 4 picks and you spend your last one, at least it was the last one at that point of the draft, and you spend your last one on a punter, particularly because over 90% of the punters in the NFL were undrafted free agents. So I understand that. But it is clear, and frankly, I saw a bunch of Iowa games this season, and for the most part, when the punting team came out, I changed the TV because I wanted to go see some skill players over in another game that was being broadcast. So I wasn't quite aware of how masterful this guy is with his punting. But when I was at the Senior Bowl 4 or 5 years ago, and Wisniewski was punting for one of the Senior Bowl teams, I was seeing the ball fly in ways that I had never seen before, and that's been the comparison of Tory Taylor with Wisniewski. He works the ball. He puts English on it. He can move it from right to left, from left to right. He can make it stop on a dime. And so that's going to be huge. And the love that the Iowa fans had for him, and they had punt T-shirts and sweatshirts and stuff, it's unbelievable. So I think, the more you study the pick, the more you gotta at least respect it, if not love it. Colossal 66 loves it. He says, "I love that punter pick because field position puts pressure on the opponent. It puts the opponent's offense in an embarrassing position if they can't move the ball with their backs against the wall." You're absolutely right. I forgot who it was that said. Somebody said on one of the programs, I think it was Mark Schlereth, saying that when you get pinned down inside your 5, or even inside your 10, and you go out there on offense, and you know that you have got to be absolutely perfect to not allow a safety or to try to move the chains and change the field, you go out there with more pressure on you than if you were getting the ball on the 40-yard line. So that's important too, to think of it that way. The psychological game, we saw it with Devin Hester and returning punts and kicks, and now we could see it potentially with Tory Taylor when he is punting. So interesting. The thing, and maybe somebody here in the chat room can help me. I know that he was the holder for the kicker, but did we ever see him in Iowa with kickoffs? Because with the new NFL rules on kickoffs, you have really got to do an excellent job of kicking off that ball with accuracy and getting it into the 10 inside the 10-yard line, but not in the end zone. So if anyone has insight on that in the chat room, please share. So Gypsy Mike says, Eric, taking Williams necessitated taking a good punter. Gypsy Mike is not a Caleb fan. Williams has the worst TTT average of any college quarterback since they've been keeping record in 2024. It's slower than Fields, almost 5 seconds. You can't rely on that stat, Mike, because he's running around. It always would piss me off that the Green Bay Packers would get their offensive line would get high grades and all these platitudes when it was Aaron Rodgers that was creating that extra time with his mobility in the pocket. He was so good at extending plays. And so USC had the worst offensive line, and yet one of the worst offensive lines, and yet here he is holding onto the ball for 5-6 seconds, which is all credit to him. So that it is what it is. Colosso says it'll have our defense licking their chops for an opportunity to cause a safety. Yep, you got that right. Hair Bear says, although get a haircut, you hippie. You should see my high school pictures, man. I had hair down to my shoulders. Anyway, we move on. Let me see if I got this queued up correctly. Let's see. Yes. So I told you there was a debate, and so Danny and I go at it for a little while. Take a look at it. I'd love to hear your opinions, and then I will comment on my terrible behavior.
Something that Ryan Poles spoke about, because they asked him and Caleb Williams about, overcoming the past of the Chicago Bears and what it means to play quarterback here. And I really liked their answer, and it almost pissed them off a little bit, because Ryan Poles was like, I wasn't here. You know what I'm saying? When Phil Emery was drafting guys that draft nerds like us didn't know who it was in the third round. He wasn't here for that. But what he has been here for is changing the culture and changing the mindset of us Bears fans to be able to buy in to, if he grabs a punter in the fourth round, okay, it looks terrible on draft day, but who knows, 3 years from now when we're punting and pinning teams 5 yards, at the 5, at the 10, making them go the whole length of the field against our defense, which, Danny, you and I were both on the same page saying that this defense is a dinosaur, it doesn't work anymore, but it prides itself on saying you will not go the length of this field without making a mistake. And when you do make a mistake, we're going to be there to take advantage of it. So a punter, I know it's a high draft pick where you picked him at, but a punter is conducive to that defense working, in my opinion. And
yeah, it's a weapon, especially one that's talented as Taylor is. But but just real quick on Poles, and I don't want to break into it here real quick right now. But actually, I don't want to go in depth in there. But I am not there in Ryan Poles yet. You guys might be there in terms of believing in him, and I still have a little weary eye at this guy in terms of how he's drafting and how he's constructing this roster. So he's made some good moves. I'm not going to take it back from him. The Sweat move, obviously the pick from trading the pick last year is still, those are feathers in his cap, but he's made some moves where I've questioned. Obviously the head coaching hire is a question mark for me still. Velus Jones in the third round is a wasted pick for me. Some other picks that he's made, and some of the moves he's made in terms of how he's, we talked about it last night, and again, I don't want to open up this can of worms right now, but the way he failed Justin Fields and was basically very much, put him out to dry out there. So I saw a weary eye, and you can shake your head, Aldo. It's my opinion. It's my opinion.
I know. I'm tired of hearing it because you don't have better solutions.
He proves me wrong until he proves me wrong. He's not a great GM. You can't tell me he's a great GM right now.
I've never said that he was a great GM.
I'm
saying you're trying to rush things when it's impossible.
I'm just saying.
Hold on, Danny. Hold on, Danny. Hold on. No, let me finish my point. Let me finish my point because we've heard your point over and over and over and over and over again. So I want to express my point of view. You cannot rush the rebuild. You can't do it. And when you say you let Justin Fields down, what possible solutions could you have had? What other general manager doesn't miss on a draft pick? What general manager comes into an organization and strips the entire roster down, gets the salary cap under control, one that Ryan Pace ruined for the team? And what other general manager, when he strips a team down, methodically starts building the team, it has had immediate success like you want? I totally success. I totally agree with you that you're saying my jury is still out on the guy. But that's right. The case isn't over. Right. The case isn't over. And so that's why I'm saying. But the thing is, Danny, is you say it every show. You say it every opportunity. We get it. We get it. The problem is that you never give him credit for doing the right thing, which was stripping this team down to its bare bones and rebuilding it in his vision, something that I, as a Bears fan, have been clamoring for years, for decades. And the Bears still haven't got it right. They still haven't synchronized things like hiring the general manager and at the same time drafting the quarterback, but they are getting close to getting things correct in my point of view. I apologize for
respect
raising my voice.
And I respect your opinion. And that's why I'm not trying to say this is I'm talking to Aaron in terms of Aaron saying he's feeling like he feels Ryan Poles is there for him. He's there yet. He has a trust in Ryan Poles in terms of, taking a punter in the 4th round. He just believes in that's the right move. And I'm like, that's cool. I'm saying my opinion, I'm not there yet, Ryan Poles. I didn't say he's a bad GM. I didn't say he should get fired tomorrow. I said, like you said, not all GMs make the right moves. Not all GMs make, great picks. And then but there are some things that I have my eye on, right? I'm still kind of leery and saying, giving Ryan Poles my trust. Like, all right, Ryan Poles takes this player in the 5th round. It's going to work out. Fine, cool. Let's go. It's Ryan Poles. I trust in Poles. I'm not there yet. I'm not saying fire the guy. I'm not saying he's the worst GM in football. I'm just saying these are the things that the missteps that he's had as a young GM. They all have them. I'm not denying that. But there's also things that I need to see more positives. I'm not saying there are no positives. I gave him credit for the Montez Sweat trade. I was on the air and saying that's a great trade. I was defending that trade when he made it. I gave him credit for the pick trade number 1 pick last year and getting the haul he did. Again, I was kind of thought he could gotten a little bit more last year, but I was wrong. He ended up getting. It turned out to be a really good haul in that trade for the number 1 overall pick. So he's made some great moves. I'm not saying he's not. I'm not there yet in terms of giving him my undivided trust. I'm still kind of I have an eye in terms of some of the moves he's making. But again, he's not horrible. He's not great. I have my opinions still out there on him.
Just like Aldo said, though.
Just real quick, just to make it clear with Vizlo's point, it's not that I love Ryan Poles. It's that I am giving him the proper amount of patience that it requires to do what he's doing. And I'm not going to complain, or say that he's terrible or good. I'm saying it takes time. I'm sorry, Aaron, go ahead.
Who's considered the best GM in the NFL? Probably the guy in Philly. That's the guy who took Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson, who's considered the greatest wide receiver in the league right now. So it's not like these GMs don't have mistakes. Every GM has a mistake. It's the GMs that are able to step up and say, okay, yes, I brought Chase Claypool in because I thought he could help my quarterback. That was a bad move. Get him out of here. We still see Velus Jones on the roster, but we just drafted a wide receiver. I don't know if Velus Jones is going to make this opening day roster.
I see a lot of supporters in the chat room, and I didn't select that piece to pick on Danny because I love Danny, and as I said in the chat several minutes ago to Gypsy Mike, who is not a Caleb Williams fan, I love it that he has a dissenting point of view. I love to hear dissenting points of view. I got my blood pressure went up, though, is because Danny said it again. And I've heard that same thing over and over again from people who don't like what Poles is doing. And to repeat myself one more time, you come in and you destroy the roster. You bottom out the salary cap. You inherit their quarterback. There's no way, if you're going to stick to this meticulously put together plan, there's no way you can get, all of the resources that Justin Fields. So when people say he failed Justin Fields, yes, that's true, but he did it for a reason, to build the roster that we have now. And so there had to be sacrificial lambs, and there were mistakes. The Chase Claypool trade was a mistake in that he was trying to help Justin Fields. So it's not like he totally ignored it. He had a huge investment, and that was a big miss on Ryan Poles' behalf. But let's just step back and really appreciate the fact that in 3 years, we now have the number 1 overall pick, the arguably the best receiver and definitely one of the top 3 receivers in the NFL draft, that you now have a promising offensive lineman who could play that difficult left tackle because he has the athleticism, because he has the knowledge, the passion. He wanted to be a Chicago Bear. I mean, that to me is a no-brainer pick when you're in the, hindsight being 2020, of course. And then the other thing is, Torrey Taylor that's an unorthodox pick, but when you think about it, when you think about the value of special teams, we've been saying it up and down over and over again, this is going to be such a great aid to the defense. And somebody said, I'm pretty sure it was during the original broadcast, and I wish I could remember people's names and pronounce them. Somebody said that, if you can't draft a ready to step in edge rusher, and the only thing left on the board are, prospects that need time to develop, and you have the choice between a guy who could potentially in his rookie year be an all-pro punter, what are you doing? Let's help out the defense. Maybe this punter is going to be a better use of your assets to help out the defense than a rotational defensive lineman. So lots of comments during that. Let me see. Again, Mike saying when you can't read a defense, you have to run. So Caleb Williams can't get through his progressions. Totally disagree. 5 losses in his last 6 games. He sucks ass against. Okay, Mike, we get it. You don't like the guy. But on this topic that we were just going on, Colossal 66, I'm definitely going to support Danny if he ever becomes a GM. But if he was if was a fifth of Hennessy, we'd all be drunk every time we say it. So Danny, support the movement, dog. And then Colossal goes on to say, although so right, Danny is always in opposition of whatever Poles is doing. I won't say that. I'll disagree with that, Colossal. And Colossal goes on to say, like he's some part of the organization. Get back. I'm a fan of yours, Danny. I think I'm reading that, but get in your fan lane, Danny. Support. Yeah, I mean, we're all fans, and it's okay to disagree with what the general manager is doing and what the coaches are doing and what players have done. But I think that we are overlooking the challenge that Poles took on by rebuilding from scratch and not accounting for that when, we're not in the playoffs yet. This season, we will be in the playoffs. And by the way, Mr. Shorty has predicted a Super Bowl. So we got to have Mr. Shorty on so we could talk more about that. And then Oracle of Hallis says, no other player in the 4th round is going to make as much an impact on the game script as a quality punter. Maybe that's where I got the idea of what I just said, because I saved your comment, Oracle. Oracle says, oh my God, Aldo with no hat and no glasses looks totally different. Yes. One of my, there was a guy looking for money that I owe him. I took everything off. I am so ugly without my glasses and hat. So, all right. Mr. Shorty goes on to say, I'm putting $500 on the Bears to win the Super Bowl this year. My gut is telling me this is going to happen. Well, and I think a really good bet. Okay, I'll let you on in a second. My dog is whining. It sounds like Danny, right? No, I'm just kidding. A good bet is Caleb for Rookie of the Year. I think it was you put down 1,000, you can win 10,000 or something like that. So I'm thinking about doing that. All right. So I got a couple more clips here. This is the reaction to the selection of Austin Booker. And of course, I couldn't help but say, I told you so. I told you so. We could get back on this and get one of the edge rushers that you wanted. I said it a lot more in my mind than I do in this video clip, but here it comes.
According to NFL.com, the top available is Austin Booker, the edge out of Kansas, DJ James, the corner from Auburn, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is still here from Clemson, the linebacker who, man, I feel old in this draft. Aldo, I don't know how you feel, but I remember watching Jeremiah Trotter and Jerry Rice and Marvin Harrison, their senior, and now I'm seeing their kids playing or getting drafted.
I feel like your grandfather, AC. That's how old I feel.
So they just traded for the 144th pick, which they traded to the.
I got it.
What is it?
It's Austin Booker.
There you go, Danny.
Got our edge rusher.
That's this. I love this pick.
See,
I love
the
this
board.
pick. I love this pick.
You know, to me, I had concerns, and I said it to Aldo earlier that I don't know if I'd want to dip into future picks, but when you're talking about a guy like Austin Booker, who, frankly, I don't think he had any business getting out of the third with the toolbox that he has and the developmental projection that you can consider with him. So to understand that you're giving a 25 fourth rounder to get him in the fifth, like I said, I just gave him a third round grade in this class. So essentially, you're telling me you got him for a fourth round pick. I'm totally okay with the value here. You have a needed edge. My only concern, and don't let this damper the expectations with the Bears, is a great pick. I just don't love the scheme fit. I'm a little concerned. When you look at him, he's lanky. He's skinny. Danny's going to pitch him as a DPR guy. I'm okay with that. But again, you've seen what they want. They want pocket crushers. They want guys that can play the run, and that's not Austin Booker. He'll get washed out. So my only concern is that he's a little bit more of a developmental guy. We mentioned Dominique Robinson. He's a better player than Dominique Robinson coming out, but it's a lot of that same feel that I question how much he's going to be able to play on day one. But you love what he showed in a limited stat count, and the fact that he's got a toolbox of pass rush moves for only being this inexperience of a player. I love the move.
I'm glad too. I mean, like I said, I thought this was a guy that we would grab at 122. You give up a future draft pick, which Aldo pulled up earlier. We have 3/6 as of now. You got a couple of, you have extra draft picks for next year, so it's not like it's absolutely crippling you going forward. We needed edge rusher. Everyone knew that. Hell, I had edge rusher in the first round for us because I didn't see Odunze falling to us. But I'm happy with the pick. If he doesn't fit the scheme, Jordan, is there any chance he could kick inside the 3-tech or
no? Yeah. He's an outside. The thing is, he's an outside linebacker in a 3-4 to me. Like that's where he would be best fit. But I'm curious, Danny, you're probably going to talk about his DPR, but talk if you could give me the scouting report, all that. But tell me how and where you're going to play him this year and beyond, because I'm just concerned about the frame.
This is why he was on my top 10 edge guys. And when me and Aldo had the edge show, and I love this kid, 6'6", 245, 33, almost 34-inch arms. So he's got the length. He's got now that he's 245, and I think that's the concern where Jordan comes in here with the size. But Jordan, the one thing I've learned with these scouts and talked to them all these years is you can always get guys bigger. You can always add 10, 15 pounds of muscle, right? The guy we talked about earlier, Roy Robertson Harrison, he was a guy that was a stand-up outside linebacker. They made him big enough, made him a defensive tackle. Now he's playing defensive tackle in the league. So that's the weight I'm not really concerned about. It's the length, it's the athletic ability. And with him, my biggest concern really, he's a one-year wonder. He's a redshirt sophomore, went to Minnesota, couldn't get off the bench, went to Kansas and really blew up this year at 8 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles. Went to the Senior Bowl, and he was unblockable, guys. Whether it's a one-on-one pass rush drills, whether it was the team aspect of the drills, whether it was the run blocking, the run drills. This is a guy that was active, motor runs hot every 24/7, lean frame, but he's got those pass rush moves. He's got the arm under move. He's got the swim move. He can get skinny, get into the gaps and provide pressure. And again, all these things, he's still, for me, he's still a broad developing prospect, but all these things that he showed at a young age, again, redshirt sophomore, as a guy has a nice little spin move where he gets the tackle leaning kind of to the outside edge and he spins back into the inside and it's lightning quick. So I think he's not a day one hand in the ground defensive end, right? He's a guy that you're going to probably in your base defense have DeMarcus Walker as your edge, okay? And then on pass rushing situations, third down, so on and so forth, you kick Walker inside the defensive tackle as your 3 technique, and now you're bringing this kid on the outside, and he comes your designated pass rusher, at least for the first year, maybe year and a half, until you get him stronger, get him more developed, and be that hand in the ground defensive line. But he's got the length, the size that Eberflus wants and likes in his defensive ends. And again, this is a guy that has pass rush potential. And I really like this pick. The 5th round here, I thought I could have seen him if they took him in the 3rd round instead of the big tackle they got from Yale. I would have been okay with it as well. So I had him a little higher on my board, and obviously they had him in the board. So, but definitely, in my opinion, this is a really heck of a pick here. It is more of a projection. It is a bit of a guy you have to kind of, maybe you want to call him boom or bust. That's fine. But he's got 1 year protection at Kansas. But what he's done at the Senior Bowl, he was a talk of the Senior Bowl practices, guys. So that really entices me and excites me about developing this guy with that type of athletic ability. So the size is a little concern, but he's not going to be a hand in the ground defensive end week 1, Jordan. He's a guy you're going to develop and just use him what he does now, which is get after the quarterback.
Let me tell you, as a newfound Vikings fan, this draft pick pisses me off. One, because I thought this would have been a good fit. Had they not gone Dallas Turner, I didn't think they'd have a chance at him. That this would have been a good developmental edge in the Daniil Hunter way. My formal comp for him is Randy Gregory. So again, and Randy Gregory's been a player, fellas. Like, that's what I'm saying. If you are this, he's not a proven thing. Draft picks are never are. But when you're talking about projection and possible ceilings, if you were another NFC opponent, this pick would upset me and frustrate me, because I don't care how good Christian Darrisaw, Brian O'Neill, Penei Sewell, Taylor Decker are. This guy has enough tools. He has bend. He has ghost moves. He has cross chops. He has spins. My biggest problem is he just didn't know what he didn't know yet because he's so inexperienced. So as he starts to build on that tool belt, if you will, of different moves, how to sequence them as he puts on more weight, again, it's a lot of projection, but that's in the 5th round. Like,
but our new defensive coordinator is a defensive line guy.
Oh my God! So I'm telling you, if you're like this
you're
pick
giving
is
him
really
clay
good.
to mold into one of his guys.
And another thing, real quick, this doesn't preclude them from bringing back Yannick Ngakoue on another 1-year contract and having him in the mix as well. So I mean, you got Austin Booker here. It doesn't mean you have to put him in there week 1 and maybe let him develop a little bit. And like you said, Aaron just said, their new defensive coordinator is a defensive line coach, right? And he's a guy that I'm sure had a big say in this and liked the skill set. And he said, I can take this kid, I can take his toolbox and develop him. So I really like this, this pick a lot here in the 5th round.
Excellent comments here. Eric says that Austin Booker had some of his best reps at the Senior Bowl against Packers first rounder Jordan Morgan. Yes, absolutely. When it's 3rd down and long, just send Booker out there and say, do what you know how to do, brother. Hey, it's Jordan. Jordan says still wanted him with Flores. Damn, Ryan Bowles. You made that real clear during the show, Jordan. Let's see. There were a couple of other comments that I saved here. And Mr. Shorty has Eric Kramer and Glenn Morgan on as their guest tonight. Bears Country Productions. Find it on YouTube. Find it on X. Find it on your social media accounts. Mr. Shorty, let us know what time that is going to happen so we can make sure. I'll try to catch it live as well. I'm going to go see my grandson, so a little bit of a challenge there. But let's see. I have one more clip. I think we all agree that Austin Booker is an exciting 9 p.m. Eastern, so 8 Central is the Glenn Morgan, Eric Kramer, Bears Country Productions show, so must-watch TV. I got one more clip that I'd like to share with you. Greg Gabriel joined us on Saturday, that final day of the draft, and Jordan asked, I should actually cut out that interview because Jordan and Danny and Tooch had some really great questions for Greg. I should cut out that whole thing and post it. Maybe if I have time this weekend, I'll do that. But there was one really funny moment that I wanted to share with you guys, and it is coming up right now. Oh, by the way, not suitable for work. There's some language here.
And what was funny was when he had that rant last night about the receiver.
I should set this up a little bit better. Greg is referring to Chris Ballard, the GM of the Indianapolis Colts. He was not very happy with Ballard was not very happy that some reporters were dissing some of his young prospects.
He said, "Oh hell, he's a good kid," in his Texas accent, and that's the way he was here. We used to laugh at it and say, "Ballard, we both know that the guy's got to kill somebody before you're going to knock him down a little bit. If he can play ball and he works hard, you like him." So, and then he laughed and goes, "Yeah, you're right." So, but that's what I mean. He goes, 18-year-olds do what 18-year-olds do.
Yeah, right. Here is Ballard in that clip sent to me by Joe Treviso. Thanks, Joe.
I don't know. I mean, I read some of the bullshit that was said on TV. I mean, just the typical fucking, excuse my language, our typical league, unnamed sources, bad interview. That's such bullshit. I mean, it fucking is. It's bullshit. Put your name on it. I'm tired of We tear these young men down. These are 21, 22 young men. And if people out there can tell me they're perfect in their lives, it's crap. It's crap. This is a good kid. And, for those reports to come out, like, I said it last year, it's bullshit. I'm sorry. I apologize for the language. I don't, but I do.
He meant every freaking word of it.
Yeah, Greg,
He's been in the weights, huh? He's been in the weight room there. I got a little bigger there.
Yeah. Very, very funny. And I love the authentic response to that by Ballard. And I'm not advocating that, general managers or head coaches go up there and swear regularly, but every once in a while, if you're really upset, hey, I'm going to forgive you. And it's real language. And in a lot of the media, in many cases, they're trying to do their jobs, but I got the feeling that they go overboard. Having worked in the media, I think they go overboard from time to time, trying to get clicks, trying to get attention to what they're reporting. And if you're not saying multiple sources, and you're just getting information from one source and it's not confirmed, then that's not real journalism. That's sports journalism. That's not reporting. You're just trying to get some clicks and stuff. So unfortunately, that's the reality. Some of the comments I want to reply to. Notorious says that he just got LASIK, so he got rid of his glasses, and now I'm telling him he's ugly. No, I'm saying I'm ugly. Let's see. Checking out, Gypsy Mike said that he really liked Jordan's take about Green Bay's new running back is going to be running right by Booker. That's going to be interesting to see if that indeed is the case. And Eric gives the Barstool Sports Show a plug, a great 20-minute interview today with Tori Taylor by the folks over at Barstool Sports mid-show. So those are our plugs. That is our show. We will be back here. Barroom will be back here tomorrow at about 5:30, 6 o'clock. Central Time in Willis Twin Towers. They'll give us their take on the draft. I'm not sure if they've got a guest on, but we will let you know as soon as I know. And let's see, Eric has one more thing here. Ballard should be jacked up by leaving the draft with Latu and AD. Yes, indeed. Another good draft for Ballard. No doubt about it. That guy, I don't know, he might be the longest tenured GM of any NFL team. So Irsay really likes him, and so they're due for some success there. It's going to be an interesting, fascinating season for the Colts with Richardson due back from his injury. We'll see what kind of a pro quarterback he's going to be. Maybe that was a blessing in disguise for Richardson to get hurt and to watch games from the sideline and learn a little bit more. I thought he was thrown in there a bit too quick. Howie outdoes Ballard. Yes, Howie. Yes, you're absolutely right. The GM from the Philadelphia Eagles could be the best one out there. All right. So thank you for watching this. So everybody works so hard on our draft coverage. Jordan, Danny, John Buffone, Greg Gabriel on his show, and our live draft coverage. Aaron Current, Ryan Billings with his great rant on the punter. I didn't include any of Tuch's comments on it, but it was great having him on. And if I'm forgetting somebody, I apologize. But they did a great job. And as I said at the top of the show, this is the 10th year for the Barroom Network, so I'm going to try to collect more and more highlights to share with people over the course of the year. This is going to be a fantastic, interesting, fascinating year, not just for the Chicago Bears, but I truly believe for the NFL. The storylines have just boom, with trades and player movement, free agent acquisitions, the draft, a lot of new storylines, and the NFC North is going to be so effing tough. Whoever emerges as the NFC North champion, and the Bears have an excellent shot at it, is going to be ready. If barring injuries, they're going to be ready to do some damage in the playoffs. There's no doubt about it. So thank you, Gypsy Mike. Thank you, Mr. Shorty. Thank you, Peppy. Thank you, Shorty, again. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you all very soon on the next Barroom production. Take care, everybody.
It's bullshit. Put your name on it. I mean, it fucking is. It's bull.